Hello and welcome to the episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, October 9th. Hope you had some days so far and had a good weekend. We are coming off another weekend full of sports as you had college football on Saturday, MLB postseason action both Saturday and yesterday, and you obviously also had a full day of NFL football action yesterday on Sunday. The New York Jets come away with a big victory, a must-win game in Denver. They come away with the win over the Denver Broncos, 31-21. We'll break it down as the Jets improve to 2-3 on the season, while the Broncos fall to 1-4. And the New York Giants, they take another brutal loss as they get blown out by the Miami Dolphins despite forcing 3 turnovers and a pick six. The offense for the New York Giants continues to get crushed, continues to get dominated, continues to look lost. It is one of the worst football teams in the NFL right now as the New York Giants fall at 1-4 and await a road matchup on Sunday night up in Buffalo next week, which is no easy task. Even with the Bills dealing with all their injuries, it is still going to be an extremely difficult task for the New York Giants to go into Buffalo and find a way to muster up a second win of the season. The Giants' season is falling apart fast, and it's not looking good. So we'll break it all down. We'll break down the college football. We'll break down the MLB postseason. We'll obviously get you all up to date on the New York Jets game as well, and that's where we'll start. So the New York Jets get the job done yesterday, 31-21. Jets improved to 2-3 on the season. Broncos fall to 1-4 on the season. The Jets will now shift their focus to play the Eagles coming up this weekend back at MetLife Stadium before their Week 6 bye week or Week 7 bye week. And as for the Denver Broncos, it looks bad for them because now they got to hit the road on a short week, head to Kansas City to try and avoid a 1-5 start to the year, which pretty much dominates your season. If you get to 1-5, your season's over. You've managed to get to 2-4, you're still alive, but 1-5, it gets ugly. And the Jets needed this game, and they got this game. Now, a couple things right off the bat. I am doing this podcast. I purposely did this after the Robert Saleh press conference. We did get awful news as Elijah Vera Tucker, for the second year in a row, and the same stadium last year in Denver, had a season-ending injury, and this year in Denver is a season-ending torn Achilles injury. And as a Jets fan, it's just awful. It stinks because we have had 2 wins this year, and in both of these victories, we've had brutal injuries come to 2 massive pieces of this team, with Aaron Rodgers obviously on Monday night, and now Elijah Vera Tucker here yesterday against the Broncos. And earlier this morning, you had a report from Ian Rappaport that said it looks like it's a calf injury. It's not going to be severe, but now you come out of this, the MRI shows it's a torn Achilles, and you especially feel for AVT because last year, he was injured. He'd done for the season. He was playing at such a high level. He comes back this year, and now in the same spot, he's down again. And that's 2 years in the NFL, and that's 2 injuries, and it's awful. It's brutal, or 3 years in the NFL, rather. 2 injuries, 3 years. It stinks. You feel for him, especially because this is a guy that is now got to go through a whole nother rehab process, and he's so talented. Had a huge season last year, and he was one of the best players on the team again this year. For the Jets, that is massive losses. To lose Aaron Rodgers and Elijah Vera Tucker before the bye week is brutal for any team. To lose your starting tackle and to lose your starting quarterback is brutal. It stinks. You feel for both those guys, and you hope for a speedy recovery, obviously, for AVT, because it does look like Aaron Rodgers' recovery is going very well. It seems like he's way ahead of schedule than I think any of us expected, and I'm not going to go down the road and look ahead at if Rodgers comes back, but it does seem like this is a guy that is certainly motivated and at least will be back at the start of next season, if not maybe at some point this year. Again, not going to go down that road right now. You hope for the best with AVT. It stinks. As a Jet fan, you continue to ask yourself, why does this always happen to us? We've had 2 wins this season, and both of those wins, we've had to walk away with 2 brutal injuries in Aaron Rodgers and now Elijah Vera Tucker. But anyway, we got to move on to the game because even with that, even with the injury, even with the unfortunate news that we just got about 15 minutes ago, it was a very big win for the New York Jets because you went into this game and you couldn't afford falling to 1-4. Both these teams. I think the Broncos, most people could say the Broncos season is probably over. You got to go on a short week now to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. You probably find yourself 1-5. It's getting ugly. And for the Jets, it was the same thing. We had to win this game because you fell in this game. The Jets now await Philly next week. Now, again, I'm not saying we're going to get crushed, but it's not going to be easy. 5-0 Philly team against a 1-4 Jet team coming off of a loss to Denver, 4 straight losses. It looks really ugly. Now, yesterday's game wasn't pretty. There was a lot of ugly football on both sides of the football. It wasn't the prettiest game ever. But at the end of the day, a win is a win. The New York Jets walked out of there with a win. And if you're a Jet fan today that for some reason is upset because the game is ugly, I don't know what to tell you. It is a victory. It is a victory Monday. We knew going into this game the New York Jets had to get the job done. They couldn't afford to fall 1-4 with the Eagles coming up this week at MetLife Stadium. Now you're 2-3. Even if you lose to Philly, we said at least by the bye week, you've got to be 2-4 because the schedule loosens up in the second half of the season. And if the New York Jets clean some of the stuff up that they had yesterday, this team could still win a lot more football games this year, especially what you saw from Breece Hall. You saw positives last week. I don't think you saw the Zach Wilson we saw last week against Kansas City. I know he had 2 big mistakes, but he was competent. He was a game manager. I think a lot of Jets fans have got to stop looking at Zach Wilson through the lens of a number 2 overall pick. Zach Wilson is a backup quarterback. And for a backup quarterback, Zach Wilson, specifically the last 2 weeks, has been very solid. He's been competent. He managed the game yesterday. He didn't make the big mistakes. I understand the whole kneeling thing before the second half, and I'll break that down right now. Look, I understand that. It is on Zach. It is also on coaching staff. It's on everybody except C.J. Uzomah. C.J. Uzomah was the only guy on that entire field, coaching staff down to the players, that was actually hustling to try and get that ball off to get a spike to kick a field goal for the half. Only one. So it was a rough play. The interception to Pat Surtain, look, it's a pick. No matter which way you spin, it's an interception. I like the idea of trying to get the ball to Garrett Wilson. He had a one-on-one situation. It wasn't the best throw. It was also a great bite by Surtain. Again, not trying to make excuses because that can't happen. He did almost cost the game, but you also can't forget, 2 plays earlier, he stepped up and made that huge play on 3rd down to Tyler Conklin, where empty backfield, good protection, had time, went through his reads, found Conklin, middle of the field, big gain, 1st down. That's a throw that Zach Wilson probably doesn't make much. Again, he was competent yesterday. And with Breece Hall fully back, if Zach Wilson could just play like he did yesterday, 199 yards, if he could just give you 19 of 26, 21 of 29, 205 yards, a touchdown, maybe a pick. If he does that every game from here on out, the Jets can still be a 9-10 win playoff team, especially with the way Breece Hall played yesterday. And I think the Jets fans have got to realize something. A lot of people want to look at the touchdowns. They want to look at the yards. But something that I've noticed a lot with Zach Wilson, and again, there still is a lot of things to clean up, but a lot of the knocks on Zach Wilson through his first 3 years of the NFL has been his completion percentage. He has a career completion percentage of 56.3. This season, his completion percentage for the first time is above 60%. Now, the last 2 games, to me, show a lot of improvement. Against Kansas City, he had a completion percentage of 71.8, and yesterday he had a completion percentage of 73.1. That's something that's super positive. And watching back the film today, and rewatching and looking at some of the NFL Next Gen's charts of Zach Wilson, my calculation, I believe, came to he was 9 for 11 on throws 5 yards or less. And that's something that I think a lot of people have got to realize. Those were the throws he was not making just 2 weeks ago. Those are the throws he was not making last year. Those short, quick throws that competent quarterbacks make. He made those yesterday. He made those against Kansas City. He's had back-to-back games with a completion percentage above 70%. Sure, you want to look at the yards, you want to look at the pick yesterday, fine. But he's much more efficient. That's back-to-back games with an extremely high completion percentage. and he's over 60% for the year. Now, again, not trying to say, 61% completion percentage for the year, that's great, but it's progress. He's a backup quarterback. He's still learning. There's still a lot of room for growth, but he's showing improvements. Zach Wilson, the last 2 weeks, I think these have probably been last week was one of his best games of his career, but this was a game that I thought he was competent. He was okay. He was good. Yes, he had the interception. I understand that, but he made some of the throws. He made the easy throws. He made the quick throws. He avoided that 2-3 interception game where he's missing wide open guys. He can't hit the checkdowns, all those things. So I thought overall Zach was fine yesterday. Was he great? No. Was he bad? No. He was competent. And guess what? The Jets walked away with a win. That's what we've been saying all along. As long as Zach Wilson can just be competent, the Jets are going to win games this year. And they did yesterday. And a big part of that was Breece Hall. He goes out, 22 carries, 177 yards, a touchdown, 8 yards per carry, 72-yard rushing touchdown. The Jets as a team ran for 234 yards. That's 7.3 yards per carry. 32 carries. Zach only threw it 26 times. This is a run-first team. Breece Hall in the year is averaging 7.2 yards per carry. 54 carries, 387 yards. Despite the New York Jets not really utilizing him for 3 of the 5 games this year, he still finds himself as the 6th best rushing guy in terms of yards. He's in the 6th in the NFL in rushing yards. He's had 2 100-plus yard games and 2 massive runs this year with an 83-yard run against Buffalo and in the 72-yard run yesterday out in Denver. And he also had the 43-yard run last week. This guy is the best running back I've ever seen in my life as a Jet fan. Again, as a Jet fan. This is the best, I should say this is the best Jet running back I've ever seen. Let me make that clear. This is the best Jet running back I've ever seen. I didn't really witness Curtis Martin. I've seen a lot of his highlights. A lot of Jets fans consider him the best they've seen since Curtis Martin, and I think all that hype's real. Breece Hall, a lot of people forget, he was on his way to winning Rookie of the Year last year. He was on his way. And, the torn ACL that happened in Denver last season obviously ended his year. He's come back, and he's so explosive. Tyler Conklin, I think, said it best in his postgame press conference. When you watch him run, it doesn't even seem like he's trying. He's just so smooth, so quick, so elusive, so fast. He gets to the second level. It's tough to bring him down. He's a special talent. And competent Zach Wilson, you run the football. Because, again, if Zach's competent, like the games where teams were stacking the box on the Jets, those were the games that Zach couldn't even make the simple throws. Those were the games that Zach couldn't process the defense. The last 2 weeks, he's processing the defense. And again, I don't want to hear, it's the Denver Broncos. It's an NFL team. They found a way to pick up a win. I don't care who it's against. They found a way to win. And that's all that matters in the NFL. I don't care if you win every game 3-0. A win is a win. And we needed a win yesterday, and we got a win. And anytime you win on the road, it's extra special because it's never easy to win on the road in the NFL. I don't care who you're playing. It's never easy. So credit to the run game, credit to Zach Wilson for making some of the simple throws, doing just enough. Definitely a lot of things to clean up, no doubt about it. There were that one throw to Garrett Wilson. There was the 2-minute the before the half situation. I'm not trying to act like those never happened. But, by all means, again, the interception, maybe I'm in the minority here. I didn't hate the decision for him to throw it to Garrett Wilson. I liked the fact that he was trying to get it to him one-on-one. It wasn't a great throw. I'll be honest. It wasn't a decision that I didn't like. It was just a bad throw. Which, unfortunate, obviously. But it's not like he threw it in triple coverage. Like, it was one-on-one. He's got his best receiver against their best corner. Better throw. No doubt about it. But outside of that, he was competent. He was competent yesterday. I think people got to realize that. Now, I do have one complaint. And there was a lot of things. Look, they went 0 for 5 in the red zone. They've got to be better in the red zone. They call it the gold zone. It can't turn into the gold. It can't be the gold zone if you're going 0 for 5. They've got to execute in the red zone. They have to. I would like to see more shots at the red zone. Something this Jet team, for some reason, likes to do, and I will never understand it. They love throwing short of the markers on third down, and they love throwing short of the end zone in the red zone. When you're in the end zone, first down, second and goal, you got to take a shot. Get the ball in the end zone. Send Garrett Wilson, throw it up one-on-one. You got to start taking shots at the end zone. We can't have these passes short of the end zone hoping they make two guys miss and get in that way. No. Take shots at the end zone. And that play before the half was not executed because it was supposed to be either out of bounds or in the end zone. And they threw it in play. That can't happen. So it's the little things like that. They've got to be cleaned up in the red zone. The red zone yesterday was brutal. There's no other way to put it. It was brutal. Again, that is one aspect. The Broncos, not a great team. Not taking anything away from them. As I've just mentioned, a win is a win. But those are the things, Eagles this week, if you go 0 for 5 in the red zone against the Eagles, you're not going to walk away with a 10-point victory. It's not. You're just not. You got to execute in the red zone. And, play action boot, movement, play action. We're very predictable in the red zone. Like these runs up the middle, they're not going to work. Teams are going to stack the box. They're going to respect the run. It's going to get stopped. It just is. Unless if it's on the 1 or 2 yard line, a 6-yard line, very rarely, 6-7 yard line, you run it up the middle, is it going to actually score? Probably not. So that's got to be better. I don't love the, you want to give Dalvin Cook one more week, that's fine. Before the bye week, okay, but I think you got to see Izzy out there. You got to see Izzy out there at some point. Dalvin Cook's washed. I don't like the second down long runs with Dalvin Cook. I think there was 2 of those yesterday. I don't love it. If you're going to run it with Breece Hall. You want to run it with Dalvin Cook at some point, fine. You're going to have to, but why second down and 10 are we running it with Dalvin Cook? I know he had that one good run, but yesterday, I don't know. I didn't understand some of the second down and runs we had with Cook. Just don't like that. So, some of it play calling. I'm very happy for Hackett, though. They got the win on the road against Sean Payton. The memes are great. The offense, for the most part, led by Breece Hall, was awesome. Conklin had that big catch. Conklin's had a solid year. I think a lot of Jets fans, we've got to admit, he's had a very good season. 4 catches, 67 yards yesterday. Had the big third down catch from Zach. Those are some things. Again, it was ugly. So I do have to give you some things. It wasn't all bright and positive. The red zone's got to be cleaned up. They do have to start faster, too. We can't go out and start 3 and out. On a turnover, that punt turnover where he dropped it, you got to score a touchdown there. You can't settle for field goals. Not going to win games against the Eagles, against the Dolphins, against the Bills kicking field goals. You're just not. And we even saw that in the Bills game. The Jets found a way to actually go late in that game and score. They had the big Garrett Wilson touchdown. They had the score there. They weren't going to win that game just kicking field goals. It's just not going to happen against really bad teams. Now, they scored a touchdown with Breece. They also had the Bryce Hall touchdown. All those things, that's fine. But you got to execute in the red zone. Those simple red zone situations. It's always like that with the Jets. For some reason, this team, the short down and distances, whether I trust them more on 3rd down and 8 and 9 than I do 3rd down and 2 or 3. Same thing in the red zone. I trust them from the 40-yard line to score. Then when they're at the 10-yard line, I lose all trust. I'm just like, yeah, they're not scoring here. And I want that to change. I want to have confidence in the red zone. I got to make that happen. But all in all, they found a way to win. Offense, definitely some mistakes, but did enough to get the job done. Defensively, started slow again, picked it up in the second half. And that's what really good defenses do. They force turnovers. The Jets did that yesterday, and they forced the turnover in the biggest spot. And that was Quincy Williams. Forget Pro Bowl. Quincy Williams has been playing like an all-pro. This is one of the best linebackers in football. I hate it because I hate this part of it. I want to make that clear. Hold on. I love what Quincy Williams has done. The only thing is, it's unfortunate, I think, that people are not going to recognize him enough. He's so underrated. I wrote an article about this about a month ago, or more than that. And I wrote about how he was one of the most underrated guys on the team. Him, Bryce Huff, and DJ Reed. Now, Bryce Huff, and I think DJ Reed has started to get some more attention, but Bryce Huff and Quincy Williams are 2 guys that do not get enough attention nationally from the media. And it's a shame because Quincy Williams has done so well, and I don't think he's talked about enough. He's been one of the best linebackers in football, and the media, other people, they're not talking about him much. And it's a shame because he deserves to be an all-pro. He deserves to be a Pro Bowler. He better be a Pro Bowler. He better be an all-pro. He's been awesome this year. And he's had a start to the season that we haven't seen much from a Jet player. He's made history. And yesterday with that strip sack, he had 2 sacks. He's been so good. When you look at this number, I think this number speaks a lot of what Quincy Williams has been able to do this season for the Jets. If I could 2 sacks yesterday, as I mentioned, along with, again, the other stats that I'll share here. So Quincy Williams became the first player in Jets history to record 9+ tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, a tackle for loss, and 3 quarterback hits in the same game. This is Williams' second consecutive game with at least 9 tackles, a tackle for loss, and a quarterback hit. That was from Jake Asman, who does a great job with his Jets content. That stat, he made history. This is the guy that's having a dominant season, and he deserves so much more attention from the national media, from the NFL world, because he's been one of the best linebackers in football. Had a huge game yesterday. And you got to give Douglas a lot of credit. Again, there has been some criticisms there at Douglas, but you got to give him a lot of credit because this was a guy that he found. Got cut by the Jags. You pick him up. They've molded him really well. He was a really good sideline-to-sideline guy, but the coverage, the tackling, he had speed, but the other aspects of his game definitely need to be worked on. And they molded him like a piece of clay where now he's an all-around great linebacker. He's got sideline-to-sideline speed. He's been a lot better tackling. He used to overrun tackles. He's been a lot better in coverage. One of the better coverage grades in the NFL for a linebacker. Really good at getting to the quarterback. He's turned into an all-around great linebacker. He's been awesome. Quincy Williams has been so much fun. It's funny. I saw somebody post this yesterday. It was like they gave him a 3-year extension. Can we extend him again? Give this guy a lifetime contract. He's been so good. And it's been so much fun to watch. And he's been one of my favorite players because he's got so much talent. It was always a matter of just kind of honing in some of those things. He took a really big jump last year. Now we're seeing like this huge jump. He feels like a guy we drafted. Where like year 1, he was all right. He had a lot of speed. Last year we saw progress in a couple of the aspects of his game that he wasn't great. And now this year he's taken that year 3 jump with us where it's like, man, this guy's legit. And you got to give, again, coaching staff's been criticized a lot, rightfully so. But you got to give him some credit because they've turned this guy into something special. Sauce had a really nice game. I thought they managed well without DJ Reed. CJ Mosley led the team with 13 tackles, 2 for loss, and a pass breakup. Huff's been great. You had Al Woods getting to the quarterback in the end zone to cause that safety, causing Russell Wilson to have an intentional grounding. Jermaine Johnson had a sack. Quincy Williams had 2 sacks. Bryce Huff had a sack. Huff's been so good. Carl Austin was inactive yesterday. Same thing with McCole Harmon. Huff was great. This guy that deserves so much more playing time. He's been awesome. Another guy, too. He's up there in the top of the league in pressure rate, get off speed, all that stuff. Doesn't get talked about it much, but deserves a lot more credit. Both those guys are having huge campaigns so far, especially Quincy Williams. Though when you looked at it, too, Quentin Jefferson had the Quentin Jefferson, Al Woods. I think those are the 2 guys that were able to get to him. Quentin Jefferson had the recovery. He had the Bryce Hall fumble recovery to end the game, to win it, which I thought was cool for him. Definitely cool. A guy that's gotten a lot of heat recently. Was supposed to be a borderline cornerback 1 or high-end depth piece, cornerback 2. And has really turned into, hasn't played much. And for him to go out there last week with a lot of criticism on how he would play, for him to go in there yesterday and pick up that fumble to win the game was certainly cool to see. Always, good to see guys do that. All in all, it was really good. Offensive line, thought was good. Tough blow for. Thought pass protection was all right. I thought the run protection was a lot better. I thought Tippmann was great. Becton's battling. You got to give him so much credit. He's battling out there. Left the game twice, came back in. He's fighting. He truly loves it. He wants to be out there. Becton, he's a true competitor. Seeing AVT goes down stinks. Now, when you look at some of what the Jets could do, Max Mitchell I thought was all right yesterday. I think you keep Becton at left. You could slide Mitchell in at right. I don't know if they'll do, I don't want to see Billy Turner at any of the tackle spots. If I had to choose one, it'd be right tackle, but I don't want to see it. I think he stinks. I think you have a better shot at Max Mitchell being there and productive player there. You could slide Max Mitchell in. You could also go out and sign somebody like La'el Collins, who a lot of people said going into the offseason to bring in. So you could bring in a piece like that. So we'll see what the Jets will do with the whole offensive line situation. It just stinks. Back-to-back years for AVT. It's awful. You feel for him. He's so talented, and to have injuries get in the way for the second straight season definitely stinks. So the Jets come away with the victory, 31-21, get to 2-3 on the season. They now get ready for Philly at home next week at MetLife Stadium. Philly enters this game as a 6.5-point road favorite, so the Jets are the home dogs. Anything's possible any given Sunday. Please come away with a victory. We'll get more into that, obviously, as the week goes on. When you look at the Giants game yesterday, look, there wasn't much to say. The offense was brutal. Daniel Jones, unfortunately got hurt. Felt like it was only a matter of time until the offensive line got him hurt. Got sacked 6 times yesterday. The offensive line is terrible. Yeah, the Evan Neal comments of fans flipping burgers and hot dogs, which is just I laugh every time I hear that because it's such a stupid statement. And I think Saquon Barkley said it best: the fans were here before you, and the fans will be here long after you. And I think that's with any sport team. Never, especially in this market, the New York market, you never, ever want to get on the wrong side of fans. You never want to. And he got on the wrong side of fans. He got on the wrong side of that fan base, which is what you never want that to happen. And it happened. So that was ugly. He had a horrible game yesterday. Without Andrew Thomas, that offensive line's lost. They've had so many issues, so many injuries yesterday. The offense is the worst in football. I don't think there's much debate. The defense turned the ball over 3 times. They had a pick 6, and they still found a way to lose. I think that the Dolphins have so much speed. Achan's so good. 13.7 yards per carry, 151 yards and a touchdown. Mostert a touchdown. Tyreek Hill at 181 yards and a touchdown. He's unbelievable. All those things. 4-1 of the season, but 2 picks from Tua, pick 6. Like, the Dolphins didn't play their cleanest game, and they still won by 15. They still covered the 12.5-point spread. The Giants are in a really brutal spot. Even with the Bills being banged up going into next week and being banged up the rest of the way, they're on the road on Sunday Night Football in Buffalo. That's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal. Maybe they do what the Jets did 2 weeks ago and everybody thinks that they're going to get crushed. They go out there and compete. Maybe. But, man, you're going to be 1-5, and it's going to get ugly. You get to that 1-5 territory, you start to wonder, you start to wonder, okay, does the locker room still believe in Dable? All that stuff. Like, again, I don't think you fire Dable. That's not going to happen. But if the Giants go on and lose or win 3-4 games this year, and they go from 9 wins to 4 wins, there's got to be some changes at least, right? There's got to be. And the whole quarterback situation, look, some of it's Daniel Jones, but a lot of it's the offensive line. It's tough, and I was able to watch that game yesterday in entirety. I was able to watch the Monday night game as well. So I've been able to watch the last 2 Giants games. He's under a ton of pressure. Now, sure, he's not playing at the level and the efficiency that he was playing at last year. And there just doesn't seem to be that same rhythm with the offense. It just seems to be sluggish and slow. It's boring. And I'll tell you like it is. Watching that game yesterday, watching the Giants offense, it was boring. Like, there wasn't those... the longest play offensively was 21 yards. It was a lot of just short stuff. It was a lot of it was almost like even as a non-Giant fan, you're sitting there, and every time Daniel Jones drops back, it was like you were pulling teeth. It was similar to how the Jets offense was prior to this recent 2-week stretch where Zach Wilson's been playing fine football, right? And for the Giants, it's kind of like every play on them for offense is so difficult. And I think a lot of it's the offensive line. It's tough for you to stretch the field. It's tough for you to open up the playbook when the offensive line's so bad and the protection is in there. It's a tough spot. Daniel Jones does deserve some of the blame. He hasn't played nearly as good. No doubt about it. But it's also tough to be that efficient when you're getting sacked 6 times a game. I mean, he has been sacked. He has been destroyed this season. And again, it's a colossal failure. I mean, you cannot, 1-4, there's got to be issues all around going on. Your quarterback has been sacked 28 times through 5 games. That's brutal. And now he got hurt. And it doesn't seem severe, but it's still an injury. And then you have the issue of, okay, the offensive line. Who's to blame there? Well, the players got to perform, but it also starts at the top of the front office. Why didn't they bring somebody in? Did they, the depth concerns, playing guys in certain spots, like Azudu, all that stuff, the mismanaging of those guys, like, a lot of this, it's the top down. It's from the front office to the coaching to the guys on the field. There's issues. And again, I'm not saying you got to fire Dable. But if the Giants go on and have a 3-win season, a 4-win season this year, it gives you a lot of the same feeling of 2017 where you went to the wild card game, you lost in 2016 to the Packers. You came back the next year and they went 3-13, and it was brutal. right? Are they in for the same thing? Is it the same thing where they have that 1 year thing? You come back and they're horrible. They're horrible. They stink. And again, I mean, I know the Cowboys got embarrassed last night. They've still got them. I know they got embarrassed, but the Giants stink too. They've still got the Eagles twice. They've got the Rams. I mean, this is a team that you could almost chalk up. They're going to lose to the Eagles 2 more times. So that's 6 losses. They're probably going to lose to the Rams. They'll probably lose to Dallas. So that's automatically like 8 losses right there, assuming those 4 games go the way expected. Now, New England's okay. Washington, I don't know. The way they're playing, that might be a split. Do you even see this team winning? Is this a 4-win team, 5-win team? I mean, again, the Giants are that comeback from, if they don't come back against Arizona, we're talking about an 0-5 Giants team right now. And you wonder even, Arizona, a team that's kind of tanking. The Giants they've played in 5 games. They've played in 20 quarters of football. 2 of them have been good. 2 of them. The other 18 have been brutal. They're 1-4. And these losses, 40-0, 30-12, 24-3, 31-16, they're not even close. They're not competitive. They're the worst team in football right now, I think. Them and the Panthers, I think, are the worst team in football. Now, the thing that's different, I'm not making excuses for Carolina because they've been terrible. But they've got a rookie quarterback. The Giants have a $40 million quarterback. You should not be 1-4. The Jets are 2-3 with a backup quarterback. And they've had a brutal 5-game schedule where they've had to face 4 of their 5 teams they've faced so far. Outside, I should say 2 of the 5. 3 of the 5 are all going to be playoff teams. Kansas City, Buffalo, and Dallas. Now, you understand Dallas got embarrassed last night, but they're still going to be a playoff team in that week NFC. Now, they did lose to New England because they always do. I don't know why. And they beat Denver, who's not good. You look at the Giants. I mean, they've, if they played anything like they played last year, anything like they played like last year, this is a team that's 2-3, 3-2. Last year, last year's team, they probably beat Seattle. With 3 turnovers, they probably actually beat Miami. And they beat Cardinals. They're probably 3-2. The Niners game's tough. The Dallas game, they just got crushed. I mean, yeah. They're probably 3-2 at least. And then you go into a game against the Bills. If this was the last year's Giants, you say, the Bills are banged up. All right. Find a way to get a win there. They're 4-2. Like, this team they stink. No other way to put it. But again, the one excuse you could say about Carolina is, again, they got a rookie quarterback. Growing pains are expected. Now, not this bad, but they're expected. And a first-year coach. Second year for the Giants, they thought they were getting better. They've gotten worse. And they've got a $40 million quarterback, and they got an offensive line that can't block, and they've got a coach in his second year, and is the locker room still intact? There's problems. So, overall in the week, as we shift away from the New York football, I went 8-5 on my picks this week. Now, reminder again, there's only 14 games this week. The 14th and final game of the week will be today. So I went 8-5 on my picks. So overall, I'm 51-26 through 5 weeks on my game picks. And some of the games this weekend: Jaguars over Buffalo, Colts over Titans, the Saints blow out the Patriots. The Patriots are brutal. They stink. The Patriots might be worse than the Giants, and they face each other. So that'll be interesting. That'll be the Tank Bowl to really see who stinks. Steelers with a wild win over the Ravens. Now, you look at that game, you say, 17-10, that was a normal game. It was not normal by any means. I was flipping off between that and the Giant game yesterday at 1 o'clock before the Jets came on at 4 o'clock. Falcons over the Texans. Was hoping to see the Texans pull out another victory. Could get to 3-2 on the season, but they fall short. I don't know if you want to call it a trap game, but a game they should have won and they couldn't. So they head back home to New Orleans next week with a big game there. Try and get back to 500 and try and get, bounce back in the division. The Detroit Lions are really good. They took care of business against a bad Panthers team yesterday at home, 42-24. Look out. The Lions are 4-1 and comfortably atop the NFC North. The Packers lose tonight. The Lions are going to have a lot of breathing room in the NFC North because that would mean the Green Bay Packers would be 2-3, and the leader of that division is 4-1. Detroit, in a couple weeks, give it 2-3 more weeks, Detroit could run away with that division here. They already starting to, but it could get to the point where they are completely running away with it in about 2 to 3 more weeks. So Detroit with another big victory at home. Cincinnati finally breaks out. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow connection broke out as they take down the Arizona Cardinals. Eagles over the Rams. I thought the Rams would win that game. They did not. Eagles take care of business. This is probably one of the better games for the Eagles in terms of offensively. Jalen Hurts throwing for over 300 yards. Chiefs over the Vikings. Questionable calls late. And the Niners over the Cowboys. Man, Dak Prescott was brutal last night. Niners are so good. I'm still kicking myself because I benched Brock Purdy for some reason. I don't even know why I said that because I get embarrassed when I say it. I don't know why I did, but I did. I started Richardson. He got hurt, and I'm going to lose in fantasy football because of it. So I should have been 3-2 at the end of this week. Instead, I'm going to be 2-3. And now I kind of have to win next week because fantasy football, 2-4, 2-5 range, it's over. So I'm going to have to start running the table soon here because my fantasy football season got a very good team. I like my roster a lot. Mismanagement, which always comes back to bite me. I mismanage all the time, which is never a good thing. So tonight you got the Packers and the Raiders. Packers are 2-2. Raiders are desperate at 1-3, looking for a win. Vegas, 2-point favorites, 8:15 ABC ESPN. Raiders at home. Devontae Adams against his former team. According to ESPN Analytics Matchup Predictor, they're giving the Packers a 56.1% chance of winning and giving the Raiders a 43.6% chance of winning. Over-under set at 45.5. I'm going to go out on a limb here. This might be a little crazy. Maybe, Raiders are home. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to take the Raiders to win this game. Did not like what I saw from Green Bay on Thursday night against the Lions 2 weeks ago now, a week and a half ago now, whatever it is. Their last game, did not like what I saw from them. From a Raider perspective, it does look like Devontae Adams will play. I'm going to take the Raiders here. I am. I think they're two struggling teams. Raiders at home. Didn't love what I saw from Jordan Love last week, despite some of the garbage time points. I'm going to take the Raiders at home. I am. Give me the Raiders, Devontae Adams. It's ugly. Neither of these teams, even if they win, give you a whole lot of hope. Maybe the Packers, if they get to 3-2 and stay around 500. But I think that's all you're going to get from them. They're kind of an 8-9, 9-8 team. The Raiders, on the other hand, they're a couple more losses away from getting ugly there in Vegas. So I'll take the Raiders 23. I'll take the Raiders 24-20. 23-21 Raiders. We'll make it close. You know what? No. We'll take the Raiders 24-20 Raiders. 24-20 Raiders. I'll take the under on the over-under of 45.5. Raiders cover the 2. No. 23-21 Raiders. They don't cover the 2, so Packers plus 2.5. But the Raiders get the win. I'll take the under on the over-under of 45.5. And I'll take the Raiders to win this game. So that's my pick for tonight. As for the MLB postseason, an update there. It's ugly for the Orioles as they fall yesterday. They fall down 2-0 in their series. It's obviously not looking good for them. It seems like they're a year away. When you look at the rest of the games, the Dodgers got blown out. Kershaw was terrible on Saturday night. They'll look to bounce back tonight. The Phillies look to get to 2 games up on Atlanta, which if they can win tonight, you like your chances for Philly going to the NLCS. Because they'll be up 2-0 and they head back home at Citizens Bank Park, only needing to win one of those games. So Philly looks to continue to ride the hot hand as they look down to take down the Braves and Max Fried. Philly will roll out Zach Wheeler, who was phenomenal in his wild card start. Tomorrow, you'll get Twins-Astros. That series is all even up 1 apiece. And you'll get Rangers-Orioles. Orioles look to avoid a sweep. The Twins head back home. They went into Houston, split. They almost came back in game 1. They split. They won last night. Got the job done 6-2. So Minnesota, keeping things interesting. Head back home to Minnesota. Tied 1-1. I think you take that if you're a Twins fan. So some more playoff baseball tonight. And when you look at college football over the weekend, Red River rivalry, that was awesome. Dylan Gabriel with an excellent drive late to get the job done 34-30. Ohio State took care of business over Maryland. LSU in a crazy shootout. No defense in that game. They won 49-39. UCLA knocked off 13th ranked Washington State despite being actually the favorites in that game. The unranked team taking down the ranked team there. Alabama over Texas A&M. One of the more interesting games was Georgia-Kentucky. Well, Georgia took care of business after a close call last week against Auburn. They dominated Kentucky 51-13. Louisville took care of business against Notre Dame. So it looks like Notre Dame's playoff hopes are out of the window here as Louisville with a big-time statement win over Notre Dame, 33-20. What was Miami doing against Georgia Tech? Running the ball when they should have just took a knee. They ended up losing that game. That was brutal. That might have been one of the most incompetent coaching things I've ever seen in my life. And I watched Adam Gase for 2 years. So that's saying something from a Mario Cristobal standpoint. Brutal finish for Miami. And those were some of your bigger games there in college football. Red River rivalry didn't disappoint, never disappoints. One of the favorite games of the year if you're a college football fan. So that'll do it for an episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. We'll have more content coming your way. I started up a new Ranger podcast. I'm the co-host, one half of it. I got it in the link in the About section of my YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, it's called Talking Rangers. We'll have an episode up either tomorrow or Wednesday. We'll record tomorrow and we'll get it up. Previewing the first couple games of the season. We'll have episodes weekly there talking all things New York Rangers with the hockey season starting up on Thursday. Rangers, Sabres open up in Buffalo. So that should be exciting. The NHL season opens up tomorrow night. So a lot to be excited about. It's October. Basketball shortly around the corner. Nets open up their preseason tonight. You got football on, college football, baseball, hockey, basketball. Greatest month of the year for sports is October. A lot more content. As always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.